Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something blunt. How long will you keep running from the very thing that will set you free? You say you want success. You say you want freedom, wealth, confidence, happiness. But I ask again, are you still avoiding what's difficult? You see, life doesn't reward the hesitant. It doesn't hand gold medals to those who only think about effort. It honors the brave, the doers, the disciplined, the ones who face discomfort head on. So, if you're still waiting for the path to be easy, you're already choosing to lose. Let me give you 6 truths, 6 principles that will change your trajectory the moment you stop avoiding what's hard. That thing you're afraid to face isn't the enemy. It's the opportunity you've been searching for, cleverly disguised as fear. And yet, how often do we retreat when we should be stepping forward? Fear isn't a wall. It's a mirror. It shows you the edge of your comfort, the line between the person you are and the person you could become. But most people don't look long enough to realize that what they fear is exactly what they need. Every major breakthrough in your life will be preceded by resistance. That resistance, that uncomfortable tension you feel inside when you're about to do something meaningful, it's not there to stop you. It's there to test you. It's life's way of asking, do you really want this? Are you ready to become the version of yourself who can handle it? Because if the answer is yes, then you must go forward despite the fear, not in the absence of it. Growth demands that you walk into the fire, not dance around it. The truth is, fear is an incredible signal. It's the compass pointing directly to where your next level lives. It marks the very task, decision, or conversation that, if done, would cause a shift in your reality. But our conditioning has been all wrong. We've been taught to seek comfort, to choose safety, to avoid pain. And in doing so, we've misunderstood fear. We've allowed it to shrink our world, limit our actions, and delay our dreams. When you see someone living fully, succeeding boldly, it's not because they don't feel fear. It's because they've learned how to use it. They've trained themselves to lean into it, to let fear be the starting bell, not the warning siren. That business idea you're nervous to launch, the relationship you're scared to fix or end, the hard truth you're avoiding saying, all of these are invitations. And fear is the stamp that proves they're important. Think about the greatest achievements in your life so far. Were any of them truly easy? Didn't they all carry some risk, some uncertainty, some moment where you wondered, can I really do this? That's fear in its truest form, not a barrier, but a doorway. And once you've walked through it, the fear fades and is replaced with power, self-respect, momentum. But if you keep retreating, what happens? The fear doesn't disappear. It just grows. The more you avoid it, the more control it has over you. What could have been a brief moment of discomfort becomes a lifetime of regret. And here's the hardest pill to swallow. Every time you run from fear, you give it permission to stay. You don't eliminate fear by ignoring it. You eliminate fear by proving to yourself that you are bigger than it. By showing up and doing the thing anyway. You might shake, you might stumble, but you'll move. And once you do, you'll realize that fear was never the enemy. It was the signal, the light in the dark, pointing you toward the very thing that would set you free. So don't wish for a life without fear. Wish for the strength to face it. Because what you're afraid to do is very often the thing that will change everything. Stop letting fear dictate your future. Let it direct you instead. Let it guide you to what matters most. And when you feel it rise in your chest, don't back down. Smile because you're about to grow. People are constantly searching for shortcuts. They want the hack, the secret, the hidden trick that will give them results without the grind. But what most refuse to accept is that the real shortcut, the only one that works, the only one that lasts, is discipline. Not the kind of discipline that shows up for a week and then disappears when it's inconvenient. Real, unshakable discipline, the kind that builds empires in silence and carves strength into the bones of those who live by it. Discipline is the great equalizer. Talent, intelligence, luck, none of it matters if you don't have the discipline to use what you've been given. You can be brilliant, you can have big dreams, you can read all the right books, but if you lack the consistency to show up and do the work day in and day out, it all crumbles. That's the part most people avoid. Because discipline isn't sexy, it's not exciting, it's not flashy. It's the early mornings, the missed parties, the saying no when everyone else is saying yes. It's doing what you said you'd do long after the mood you said it in is past. The truth is, success doesn't come from massive action taken once. It comes from small actions repeated with precision, over and over. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum builds greatness. And here's the thing. When you're disciplined, you don't have to rely on motivation. Motivation is a liar. It comes and goes. It shows up when it feels good. But discipline is there whether you feel like it or not. It doesn't ask how you're feeling. It only asks, did you do what needed to be done? People often complain they don't have time, but it's not about time. It's about priorities. The undisciplined wait for time to appear. The disciplined make time. They structure their days. They guard their focus. They turn their lives into a system that supports their goals. Because they understand that freedom is not found in doing whatever you want. It's found in doing what you must so that one day you can do whatever you want. Most people are imprisoned by their own inconsistency. They start strong, but fade. They talk big, but follow through small. And every time they quit, they teach themselves that quitting is an option. They train their mind to accept failure before it's even been earned. But when you live with discipline, you start building something deeper than habits. You start building identity. You begin to see yourself as the kind of person who doesn't quit, who pushes, who endures, who finishes. And here's what's powerful. Discipline compounds. Just like interest in a bank account, the small things you do daily stack over time. A single workout might not transform you. One disciplined hour of deep work might not make you a millionaire, but repeated over months, years, that's where transformation happens. That's where lives change. You don't rise by accident. You rise on purpose, through intention, through effort, through relentless refusal to let comfort win. Discipline doesn't just build success, it builds character. It molds the type of person who can handle the weight of the life they're creating. Because success without discipline crumbles. It's temporary, but success built on discipline, that's unshakable, that lasts. So while everyone else is searching for easy, choose discipline. Choose the long way, the slow burn, the grind, because that is the shortcut. That is the fast lane. It just doesn't look like it at first. But in the end, it's the only path that leads where you truly want to go. Procrastination is not just a bad habit. It's a quiet form of self-betrayal. It's you turning your back on your own potential. Every time you delay what you know you need to do, every time you push it to tomorrow, every time you say later when you mean never, you're not just wasting time. You're telling yourself that your dreams, your goals, your future are not important enough to act on right now. And that message sinks in deeper than you think. The mind is always listening. Every time you choose to avoid the task, to scroll instead of create, to talk instead of act, to escape instead of face, it hears you, and it remembers. Over time, that pattern becomes your identity. You begin to believe, even unconsciously, that you're the kind of person who doesn't follow through. That's where the damage really begins. Because once your self-image becomes that of someone who procrastinates, you start showing up that way in every area of your life. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's fear in disguise. Fear of failing, fear of succeeding, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough. And instead of facing that fear, we mask it with distractions. We convince ourselves that we're just waiting for the right time. But let's be honest, the right time never comes. It's an illusion, a lie we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of progress. There is a cost to procrastination, and it's higher than you think. Every hour you lose to avoidance is an hour you never get back. That's time you could have invested in becoming better, stronger, sharper. That's momentum you could have built, confidence you could have earned. And here's what stings the most. Deep down, you know this. That's why procrastination leaves you feeling drained, not rested, because your soul knows you're meant for more, but your actions keep choosing less. It doesn't take a massive change to break this pattern. It takes a decision. One decision to stop negotiating with your excuses. One decision to act before you feel ready. Action creates clarity. Action creates energy. Action destroys the fog of procrastination. The longer you sit and think about doing it, the heavier it becomes. But the moment you take that first step, the weight begins to lift. And here's the secret. You don't have to feel motivated to start. You just have to start. Motion generates emotion. The energy you're waiting for is on the other side of action, not the other way around. Want motivation? Do the thing. Want confidence? Do the thing. Want momentum? Do the thing. Waiting for the perfect mindset is the biggest trap of all. Your mindset changes through action, not before it. What if just once you did the hard thing first? What if you chose discipline over delay? That one choice would ripple across your entire day, your week, your month. It would shift your self-image. You'd start to trust yourself again, because that's what procrastination steals the most, trust. When you don't do what you say you're going to do, you stop believing your own words, and that makes it almost impossible to build a life of purpose, because purpose requires integrity. So it's time to stop betraying yourself. No more waiting, no more lying to yourself with soft, safe words like someday and later. If it matters, do it now. If it scares you, do it now. If it's uncomfortable, especially do it now. Because every time you act, you reclaim power, you build proof, you rise. And every time you procrastinate, you give away a piece of your potential for nothing in return. Choose action. Choose integrity. Choose to become someone you can count on. Everyone believes their excuses are valid. Everyone thinks their situation is somehow different, that their struggles are more complex, their time more limited, their challenges more unique. But the truth is harsh and liberating at the same time. Your excuses are not special. They are not different. They are the same worn-out stories people have told themselves for generations to avoid doing what must be done. And until you realize that, you will stay stuck, convinced that your limitations are real, when in reality they're just well-practiced lies. You're not the only one who's tired. You're not the only one dealing with fear or responsibility or uncertainty. You're not the only one with bills to pay, children to raise, or past wounds to heal. Life is messy for everyone. Success doesn't belong to those with perfect circumstances. It belongs to those who act anyway. It belongs to the ones who stop waiting for the perfect setup and start moving in spite of the storm. The problem is that excuses are incredibly seductive. They sound reasonable. They feel protective. They give you a story to lean on, a justification for not risking anything. And society will often accept them. People will nod along and say, "I get it." And that makes them even more dangerous, because when others validate your excuses, they help build your prison. But the ones who truly care about your growth, they won't accept your excuses. They'll challenge you. They'll tell you the truth, that you are capable of far more than you're allowing yourself to believe. It's easy to look at someone who's ahead of you and assume they had it easier, that they had more support, more time, fewer obstacles. But in most cases, that's simply not true. What they had was the willingness to push forward despite the resistance. They refused to be ruled by the same excuses you're still entertaining. They had the same fear, the same doubts, but they acted anyway. That's the only real difference. Every excuse you use is a decision to stay small. It's a choice to settle. And it's cumulative. Each one chips away at your potential until one day you look back and wonder where all the time went. You'll say, "I could have, I should have, if only." But those words don't change anything. Action does. Ownership does. Taking responsibility for your life, every messy, imperfect, complicated part of it, is where real transformation begins. The moment you drop your excuses, something incredible happens. You free up all the energy you've been using to defend your limits and redirect it toward breaking them. You stop arguing for your constraints and start building your power. You move from victim to creator. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "Watch me." It won't be easy. It's not supposed to be. Growth never is. But it will be worth it. And the moment you own everything, the pain, the mistakes, the missed chances, you also own the power to change it. That's when life begins to open up. That's when momentum starts to build. That's when you begin to separate yourself from the crowd. Not because you were lucky, but because you were brave enough to stop believing the excuses everyone else clings to. So next time you hear that voice in your head saying, "I can't," or "not now," or "it's different for me," stop and question it. Ask yourself, is this really true, or is this just comfortable? Because comfort is what keeps people average. And if you want more, if you truly want the life you say you do, then it's time to stop defending your excuses and start proving them wrong. The hard path is the only path worth taking. It's not the most popular. It's not the most talked about, but it's the one that builds you. It's the one that changes you from the inside out. And in the end, it's the only path that leads to anything real, anything lasting. While everyone else is searching for shortcuts, quick fixes, and magic formulas, those who are truly committed are choosing the steep road, the long route, the uncomfortable grind. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand something most people don't. What comes easy isn't worth much, and what's worth having rarely comes easy. We live in a world that glorifies comfort. Everywhere you look, you're told to take it easy, to relax, to avoid stress, to choose what feels good in the moment. But what no one tells you is that chasing comfort comes with its own kind of pain, the pain of regret, the pain of knowing you settled, the pain of wondering what could have been if you had just done the hard thing when it mattered most. The hard path might exhaust you in the moment, but the easy path drains you, slowly, over time, in a way that's harder to see until it's too late. The hard path is lonely at times. It's not crowded. Most people won't understand why you're choosing to get up early, to work late, to turn down distractions, to sacrifice things that seem normal. They won't see the vision you're chasing. They won't feel the fire inside you that tells you this is the way. But that's okay, because the hard path isn't for the crowd. It's for the few who are willing to rise above mediocrity and demand more from themselves. Every step you take along that hard road shapes you. Every challenge you face and overcome adds something to your character. It gives you confidence that can't be faked, strength that can't be borrowed, and experience that can't be taught. The mountain doesn't care about your excuses, your feelings, or your doubts. It only asks, will you climb? And if you do, if you keep moving, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, then you earn something that no one can take from you, growth. Most people want success without the struggle. But the struggle is what makes success meaningful. You appreciate what you earn through effort. You value what you earn through effort. You take pride in what you build with your own hands. The hard path forces you to become someone capable of carrying the weight of your dreams. Without it, even if you somehow stumbled into success, you wouldn't be able to hold it. You wouldn't have the foundation to sustain it. The work is what builds the container to hold the reward. And yes, it will test you. There will be moments where you want to quit, where you question everything, where you wonder if it's worth it. That's normal. That's part of it. But those moments don't define you. Your decision to keep going does. Every time you choose to keep walking the hard path when quitting seems easier, you separate yourself from the masses. You earn your spot. You prove to yourself that you're not like the rest. You're committed. And that belief, that's everything. So no, the hard path isn't glamorous. It's not instant, but it's real. And when you get to the top of that mountain, bruised, tired, stronger than you've ever been, you'll realize it wasn't just about reaching the summit. It was about who you became on the way up. And that person is unstoppable. That person is ready for whatever comes next, because they've already walked through the fire and they know the hard path was the right one all along.